One of the last things we're going to do in this exercise, in this second exercise, is to show you how you can detect broken object level authorizations, broken function level authorizations, and so on. Okay. In order to be able to detect this type of security vulnerabilities, you must define at least two users of a specific authentication and role. So if you have a basic authentication like we do, we probably need a second user for that basic authentication. If you have a JSON Web Token authentication that is user flagged, you need another one with the same role and the same type of authentication for the JSON Web Token. Okay. This, if you have these two users, then active testing is going to be able to detect whether a broken object level authorization or a broken functional level authorization vulnerability exists in your APIs. To keep it brief, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go under settings and we're going to go under environment. And of course, we need to open the secrets manager because we're going to define yet one more uh, token. We're not going to define the basic. We don't care about it. We're just going to define the token and we're going to create Jane Doe. Right? We're going to create Jane Doe. So let's add another secret that identifies Jane Doe. We're going to call it appropriately Jane Doe token. And in this case, we can define yet another Postman collection, but that means we have to replicate the steps. We're not going to do that. And again, our tokens never expire. So that gives me the ability to also show you how you can define something as a standard text value, right? So we're going to select text. And the only thing we need is to locate, to grab a token that identifies Jane Doe, right? And Jane Doe is already an account and a user that exists inside the Flights application. Okay. Uh, Move to your Postman right now. Go to the post tokens operation. Go under auth and change John to Jane. Jane. Like this. The password stays the same, Doe. And click send. And this pretty much should give you access to a token that identifies Jane Doe. Here it is. Just copy this value. Head back to your secrets manager and paste. This is it. So that's how you can add textual based tokens. Click save. Again, everything seems to be hanky-dory, but I like to always select Secrets Manager, make sure my Jane Doe token is here, and it is. So we can cancel. Right now we can create the authentication, right? So let's add a new authentication. Jane Doe token. Yet again, same structure like before. Again, the role has to match the same exact role that we specified for John Doe. So reader writer, that's what we specified. That's what we specify here as well. Type, header. Key, authorization yet again. Bearer, that doesn't change. Bearer space at, and now you select Jane Doe token. And now you have an authorization header that identifies Jane Doe, but this time is hard coded. Again, in our case, it doesn't matter because they don't expire, but in some other case, it may matter, right? So you probably, if your tokens expire, I don't know, every few minutes, probably you need to create another Postman collection that identifies Jane Doe specifically. Okay. And we're going to select create. Here we go. And now we can go back to our scans and we can run another scan. We still see an extra issue yet again. Here it is, 15 completed. And if we go inside the scan and we render, I don't know, 50, 20, we should have resources accessible across users, broken object level authorization. And if you select it, if you look at it, you will see that this is the API dependency, right? Post API flights. Here it is. This has been created by which user? John Doe. This is where the attacker validates whether the API is accessible without any authentication, and of course it's not. That's why they get 401. Then the attacker simulates a resource owner, John Doe token. This is John Doe accessing their own resource. And John Doe is able, of course, to access the data in its own resource. You see 200. And then Jane Doe also is able to access the same data. 222, 222, right? And they both get successful response. And you can see that response right here. So this pretty much establishes that this is possible, but keep in mind, you may have applications where the roles are allowing for this type of access, right? I don't know, maybe the Jane Doe and John Doe are operators of the flights application, administrators of some sort, customer success reps, who knows? And they need to have access to different types of data created across the board, right? So if this is a false positive, which may very well be, right? You have the ability to tell active testing, hey buddy, this is a false positive, don't bother me, right? Do not bother me. So if I select scans, I can come, not scans, if I go back to the last scan, my apologies, I should have selected the 9, right, to navigate back to the scan. You see all the way to the right where you have the actions column, you have a single flag that says false positive, right? So if your broken object level authorization is a false positive, just tag it as such, and it's going to disappear from your view. It's still there. It doesn't disappear entirely because you may select, okay, show me all the false positives, and you're going to have it right here, right? Even if you run subsequent scans, let's run one more scan. Again, you see the counter removes that false positive. If I run one more scan, give it a few seconds. Took 11 seconds earlier on. Probably is going to take as much. Here it is. So you complete it. You still have 14 issues, but if I select even the last scan, it's still going to tell you that, hey, you still have false positives right here. Okay? Keep that in mind. All right, with this, pretty much we concluded that second exercise, guys. Right? With this, we concluded the second exercise. That was it. So the section end. I keep forgetting to show the section end slide. Here it is, your visual indicator.